Hey guys, Sean here. Ever since Russia first announced they were buying gold at a fixed price, many people assumed it was a move towards a gold standard. As excited as I would be for it, it really isn't the case, and in fact, Russia recently stopped the golds for rubles exchange. But there is a real possibility that a gold standard is in the cards down the road. Russia has mentioned that they are going to eventually sell their commodities, oil, gas and wheat for rubles, and this is the first step towards laying the groundwork for gold standard if they are serious about it. And in this video, I really want to dive into this topic to discuss if Russia can make a gold standard happen and what this could mean for us. It is very possible for them to make it happen considering the amount of resources they possess and the current situation they are in. Let's dive in. But before we begin, we need to correctly define what a gold standard is. The previous gold for rubles peg wasn't a true gold standard, it was a one-way street. For a true gold standard to happen, you need to be able to exchange the currency for gold directly. And that means if the dollar here is on a gold standard and the rate was pegged to say $100 for a gram of gold, I would be able to exchange this $100 here for the equivalent amount of gold at the fixed rate. Countries and people should be able to walk up to a bank and demand gold for their dollars at the peg. This hasn't happened yet in Russia or any other country for that matter. But back to the main point, why is Russia even considering a gold standard? After all, it won't be an easy task. Well, the Russians have been talking about de-dollarization for a long time. They have been trying to get out of holding too many US dollars for many years now. Plus the recent sanctions that froze most of their US dollar reserves have taught Russia one thing. You cannot solely rely on a single currency, and it's always better to hold your own money at home. Sure, the Russians have their gold reserves, they have been stockpiling loads of it, but they can't possibly trade them for everything they need. It will be incredibly expensive and inconvenient as well. Physical gold is more of a store of value today than an actual currency used in transactions, but what if they could use their own national currency instead and link it to the trust of physical gold? After all, they are banned from transacting in dollars, euros and even the Japanese yen, but putting the ruble on the gold standard is a way out for them. The ruble will become a black sheep in a good sense. It will be a hard currency backed up by something tangible instead of other currencies which are backed up by trust, faith and hope. And this puts the ruble one step closer to being a world reserve currency, and that means gaining all the benefits of being one. That means they can borrow money cheaper and hold less FX reserves as well as grow their economy faster. After all, that was exactly how the US dollar became the world's reserve currency. It was specifically because of the huge stockpile of gold the US accumulated during World War I and II. Only the US had enough gold to back up the dollar, so countries just decided to peg their currency to the dollar because the dollar back then was as good as gold. Now, Russia could be trying to attempt their hand at a gold standard 2.0, but there are problems and speed bumps along the way, and the biggest obstacle is a simple one. What if everyone decides to do a run on your gold standard? Do you have enough gold reserves if every country decides to swap the ruble for gold? Now, this is a real possibility and is the reason why Nixon stopped redemptions of dollars for gold permanently. And in order to solve this, you have to make sure your gold standard currency has to be more than just a colorful coupon to exchange for gold. It has to be a strong currency that can be used to buy or trade for other stuff like oil and gas. There is a reason why the US dollar today is still the world's reserve currency even without a gold standard. And it's because it is backed up by really three things: the US military, their economy, and the existing network of countries holding and transacting in US dollars. Essentially, you need dollars if you want to buy the majority of commodities. Realistically, Russia won't be able to win against the United States when it comes to either their military or the size of their economy. But Russia is a commodity giant in its own right. It is the third largest producer of oil, supplies Europe with the majority of the natural gas, and is the biggest wheat exporter in the world. They basically feed the world. And commodities are the key ingredients that Russia can use and is using to make the ruble strong and useful. And that is why you are seeing Putin demand rubles for gas and forcing Europe to stop paying in euros. On one hand, he has no use for euros, and on the other hand, he just wants to strengthen the ruble. And it does seem to be working. The ruble is now back to pre-war levels. Remember when we mentioned that they will extend this to the rest of their commodities? Could it be to test if the ruble can circulate around the world and be used to buy energy and food? Now, this is a crucial step that can't be skipped if they are really moving towards a gold standard. No matter how much gold Russia has, it is limited and can be depleted. Sure, they have their own gold mines, but it is likely not enough on its own. But if the ruble can be used to buy a whole basket of commodities, now the currency can flow in and out of Russia and be more useful than just a redemption coupon for gold. This means essentially the ruble is backed in a sense not just by gold but by energy and food as well. And this is why Russia will need to get this done first before they can even dream about a gold standard. The last step is linking to gold, and that likely won't happen for years or even a decade at least. Now, a common question is if the United States could go back to a gold standard. And I would argue that it's going to be quite impossible. We might have crossed the point of no return, and it has all to do with debt. Firstly, the US spends a lot of money and they have been running up a lot of deficits for decades, right? And returning to a gold standard will mean countries could just suddenly redeem all their dollars for gold. Now, the national debt is fast approaching $30.4 trillion, and just imagine if all the holders of treasuries decided to cash out and swap their dollars for gold. Even at today's prices of around $2,000 gold, based on 8,133 tons of gold that the US holds, there isn't even enough to cover $1 trillion. But Russia is different, right? Their national debt is only around $310 billion, and if we lump that together with their money supply, which is around $800 billion worth, considering Russia's official gold stockpile of around 2,300 tons of gold, worth $140 billion, they have enough gold to cover more than 10% of their debt and cash, and this makes a gold standard much more feasible for Russia than the United States. Because even though the US technically has more gold, it has more liabilities it has to pay off. Now, the interesting thing is that we can track Russia's progress towards a gold standard so we don't get blindsided at the last moment. They will first have to prove that the ruble is useful to buy commodities like oil, gas, and food. Plus, other countries will have to start accepting rubles for payment and using rubles to buy stuff in Russia. Plus, in the meantime, Russia will likely continue to buy up lots of gold from the world, or if they are blocked, they will just buy up their own domestic supply to really stockpile even more gold to back up their currency supply and debts. Now, I believe if a gold peg happens, it will likely be swift and sudden, but Russia will have to accomplish these two steps first. So we need to keep an eye out on this, because if Russia really establishes a gold standard and the ruble becomes more of a reserve currency, this will accelerate de-dollarization even more, and while the US economy might face a slump, Russia could be seeing a boom and growth in theirs. So what does a Russian gold standard mean for us, and more importantly, what does it mean for gold? Well, firstly, the spotlight will be shone on gold so brightly that three things will happen. It will be an official recognition that gold is in fact money, and we can expect central banks to buy up more gold as reserves to shore up their own economy as well. More countries with commodities will be pressured to get onto a gold standard if they want to compete. Now, if the ruble gold peg is credible enough, we could see countries just hoard the ruble because it will be as good as gold. They can use it to pay for oil, gas, and food, making it very convenient instead of transporting physical gold left and right. But I think the more interesting move will come from the retail market. People like you and me will start waking up more in masses and see gold as more than just shiny jewelry. They will see it as money itself. That means retail demand will likely soar, and that will push up both the spot price and the premiums up. We won't know how high the price of gold could reach, but it would most definitely be more than $1,900 or even $2,000 today. But what if the gold standard doesn't materialize, right? What happens if it fails? Now, I'll still be buying gold without fail because it is still an excellent asset to preserve wealth. It has an undefeated track record of over 3,000 years to hold purchasing power. Plus, I think apart from hedging from inflation, gold really holds a special place in today's digital world. It is physical wealth held outside of the financial system, and that means zero counterparty risk. And if recent events have taught us anything, we need to be smart and have some gold at hand just in case. I think we're still quite far away from a Russian gold standard happening, but given how chaotic times are, it definitely could happen, and if it does, we should be prepared. Now, Ray Dalio stated that we are approaching the challenging of a world order, and if Russia truly pegs the ruble to gold, this could be it. We won't know how it will evolve, but I don't think the dollar will fade quietly into the sunset. Either way, we have to pay attention and watch what happens. Sure, we can speculate on the ruble, but I think the safest move, in my opinion, is to just own the physical gold itself. If the gold standard doesn't happen, I'll still preserve my purchasing power for decades to come. So let me know what you think. Will Russia really move towards a gold standard, or is this all hocus pocus talk? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more gold, silver and finance videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon.